Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, we were learning about the democratic and nationalistic revolutions that took place during the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries in Europe, which has changed the entire course of history. As part of that, we have seen the first revolution, Glorious Revolution, which took place in Britain, which is also called as a Bloodless Revolution. And the second revolution is the American War of Independence, where American colonies, 13 American colonies fought against their colonial ruler Britain in order to win the freedom. So that got ended up with a Declaration of Independence drafted by Thomas Jefferson. And today, let us move on to the third revolution, that is the French Revolution. So this is a very lengthy revolution, children. French Revolution is a very lengthy revolution. And you know, these French people also helped during the American War of Independence to these 13 colonies in order to achieve the independence against the British Army. And now let us see about the socio-economic background in the France, that is in Europe. So how this has helped for the outbreak of a revolution in France. It was during 1774, children. During 1774, it is being ruled by Louis 16, who became the king of France, and he was only 20 years old at that time, and married to the Austrian prince called as Maria Antoinette. He got married to Maria Antoinette, and after becoming the king, Louis 16 found the treasury of the country was completely empty, and there was no money in the treasury, and long years of war has emptied the entire financial sources of France. There was no more money available in the treasury of the France. Besides, the cost of maintaining the extravagant court of the king and immense palace of Versailles was very high. So in order to maintain all these things, they require huge amounts of taxes. Under Louis 16, France helped the 13 American colonies to gain their independence from the Britain, who was their common enemy. Britain was their common enemy, and there was a long war which went on between France and Britain over the Industrial Revolution. The war has further ended up them in debt. Okay, कर्जा बहुत हो गई France को. Even in that, in order to keep an end to the Britain, they had given help to the Americans. So the state was forced to increase the taxes in order to meet its even day-to-day expenses. So as the cost of maintaining the army, maintaining the court, and running the government offices and universities, yet even the money was not sufficient. So as a result of that, French society in the 18th century, they tried, the society got divided into 3 estates. The French society got divided into 3 estates. We shall learn about these 3 estates now. The society got divided into 3 estates. The first estate was called as a clergy, and second estate is called as a nobles, or they are called as a nobility. This is the first estate. This is the second estate. And third estate consists of the all other common men, businessmen, merchants, and small peasants. These all people comes under the third estate. So who are clergy, children? Who are called as a clergy? Clergy are the people, however, only the members of the third estate had to pay the tax, and remaining 2 people, that means the king's relatives, king's neighbor, king's officials, they need not pay any taxes. The first estate and second estate, the clergy and nobility section people need not pay any taxes. Only the third estate people have to pay the taxes. This system of estate was part of the feudal system from the Middle Ages of the ages before 1789. France had this kind of system. The same continued even in the 18th century also. The peasants were about 90% of the entire population, and peasants, however, only a small number of them owned the lands, and about 60% of the land owned was only by the church and by the richer people. Very few people own the land, and most of them are working under the landlords. The members of the first 2 estates, that is the clergy. Clergy means a group of persons invested with special functions in the church are called as the clergy, whereas nobility means the bureaucratic class, the king's officials and aristocratic class is called as the nobility. Clergy means a group of people who are invested with special privileges in a church. चर्च में जो पावर रहती है उन लोगों को क्लर्जी बोलते हैं, और नोबिलिटी बोले तो राजा का जो रिलेटिव्स रहते हैं और राजा के पास काम करने ब्यूरोक्रेटिक पीपल ऑफिशियल्स रहते हैं, वो सभी लोगों को नोबिलिटी बोलते हैं. ये दोनों लोग जो है टैक्स पे करने का ज़रूरत नहीं है, मगर वेयर एज द थर्ड estate, that is small peasants, lawyers, businessmen, these people required to pay the taxes. And the most important of those was that they did not have to pay the taxes to the state, and the nobles also enjoyed other feudal privileges also they enjoyed, and they were forced to give other services to the lord, that is to work in their houses, in their fields, and to serve in the army and to participate in building roads at free of cost. पूरे करने के लिए they are not paid any wages, they are not paid any taxes. Okay, at free of cost they have to do all these things. So the church also extracted many other tithis, that means a tax which is levied by the church for comprising 1/10 of the, which comprises of 1/10 of the agricultural produce. जो हम उगाते हैं उसमें से 1/10 परसेंटेज चर्च को देना, और थोड़ा जो है टैक्सेस के रूप में से किंग राजा को देना. सो बाकी जो है वो आप खाने के लिए क्या मिलती है इतना. सो 1/10 हैज़ टू बी पेड, कॉल्ड एज तिथिस. दे आर कॉल्ड एज तिथिस, TITHES. This is nothing but 1/10 has to be paid to the church as the tax. Those are called as tithis. The church used to levy these taxes also on the common man. And there were many other taxes called as a tally, which has to be directly paid to the state, and which were levied on articles of everyday consumption like on salt and tobacco. On all these items they charging taxes. The third estate alone had to pay all these taxes to finance the activities of the state. To adding to this problem, there was also a failure of crops which has increased their suffering. If the crops they get good crop, good harvest, then they need not pay any, they need not worry to pay all these taxes. But adding to their problem, even sometimes there will be a tax crop failure. So in those poor during those years when the crop has got failed, it is very difficult for them to pay the taxes. So there was a growing middle class, and there was a end to the privileges given to these two estates people, which we shall see in the next class, children. Until then, take care. Thank you.